The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Thomas Sanjurjo. Hey, Thomas.
Hey, Dom.
And Father Joseph Sund. Hey, Father.
Good to be with you.
Before we get into our show, I want to tell everyone about another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy, and this is very timely. It's The Secrets of Star Wars. There's a very big show coming up in Star Wars, the Ahsoka series, and if you're a Star Wars fan or even just a casual fan, you definitely want to subscribe to The Secrets of Star Wars so you can hear us talk all about it and find the deep layers and hidden meanings and the Christian perspective on Star Wars and the things that come up. So, but we're fans. We're super fans. So, you want to...
It's totally still Star Wars nerdy.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of friends that have recommended it or that I've recommended it to, and they were surprised that that even the Catholic portions of it they enjoyed. So that was that was really good. That's a good compliment.
That's a good report. So, folks, you can find The Secrets of Star Wars wherever podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/Star Wars. So today we're talking about, our topic is kind of a offshoot or a sequel to one we did recently, about a month ago, I think, where Thomas and Jack Barazini and we talked about curating your social media for better mental and emotional wellness and spiritual wellness, I think is what we said. And we want to take to another level or to another step. It's, that's not levels, but another step. We want to talk about a digital detox and what is that? And what would you guys think a digital detox would consist of? Father, what would you think of when I say digital detox?
Well, first thing that comes to mind was the ultimate, which was this summer I did have an opportunity for retreat that I did in rural Minnesota at a place called Pachymintera, in which it was staying in a cabin with no electricity, no water, and a lamp and a hot water kettle. Right. And then they brought you bread each day. So that was the ultimate of digital detox. And I think sometimes when we say digital detox, we can be thinking extremes. And so I bring that up to say that is not what we're talking about.
Right.
What we're talking about is, or necessarily, it could be what we're talking about. Yeah. But more when we're in the world and when we're in our regular lives, is there ways that we can decrease the distraction and the effect that technology has in our own lives? And so I look of this of even the setting aside a couple hours in a day that is a tech-free zone. Yeah. Right? And so ideas like that is kind of how I read it.
How about you, Thomas? What would you call a digital detox?
I think it's, you kind of have to take it for face value where it's a detox, and you have to think about the times in your life where technology is being toxic. It's causing you to hunch over your phone a little more than you should be, or to question where a certain piece of technology is when you're performing an action. Like I know that we've touched on the topic before, but bathroom time is not necessarily a time to engage with your phone all the time. So you shouldn't be looking for it just to go to the restroom, or any other time where you're thinking about, if you're going to go on a trip, maybe instead of relying on Google Maps, map it beforehand, know where you're going to go, learn the route before you get in your car, and just break that reliance that you have on technology. And I really like kind of thinking of it that way, is like picking the areas in your life where you're over reliant on technology and just breaking that cycle.
Right. And that's the detox part of that is it implies toxins or toxicity. And social media certainly can be toxic, but even apart from the social toxicity, there's also a sort of way that technology, all of us on the panel and probably most of our audience, we love technology, but it can become, we can become over reliant on certain kinds of technology. And as both of you mentioned, and, so the idea is to reduce the stress, anxiety, and reduce attention spans that technology can bring to us, and to thus recover the things that we may be neglecting. And it's like, Father, you mentioned, it's like going on retreat. There's a reason we go on spiritual retreats, or even sometimes people go on like business retreats or that sort of thing. But there's a reason we go on a retreat. It's to step away from the everyday, which is not bad, but it gives you new perspective. And I think that's what a digital detox can be, is a way to step away from the technology that we are bathed in essence, on a daily basis, to give us a new perspective on our lives, on the people around us, on our priorities, and to take your nose up out of the phone or the computer or the tablet and, see the world around us a little more than we had been. So that, I think that's a pretty good working definition that we could start from to talk about it. And as I mentioned, the digital detox is like a retreat. And one of the times I know a lot of people will do a digital detox is during periods of penitence and abstinence, which for Catholics is often Advent and especially Lent. Do you guys ever do sort of like some people like fast from Facebook, or do you ever do something like that for one of those penitential periods?
I did a flip phone Lent one year, which was fantastic. I did not realize how overbearing having a smartphone on, but then I also realized it did become an inconvenience for other people, but it was a relief of that because it set realistic expectations. I think our smartphones set unrealistic expectations of response times. I text you, I expect a response in 30 seconds, right? I email you, I expect you to be responding to email right away, when in the past I would expect you to get to your computer to read an email. And so there's this, that was really freeing. And so I think there's parts of this that can be spiritually freeing of that, from my experience of that ultimate detox there for 44 days or whatever it is.
Yeah, I've gone on one before too, where I eliminated my. I did 1 year. I did no video gaming for the entirety of Lent, and then another. I've given up on social media. So really, like, the only thing I look social media wise is Reddit anymore. So I don't even have a Facebook account. So there's not really much for me to give up there. But yeah, I've sometimes I'll do like only reading news from the newspaper. That's one I did 1 year as well. And that's a good one, where you aren't getting that immediate update to everything, and you'll hear things from people and you're like, well, I don't know, it hasn't shown up in the newspaper yet, so I can't possibly know about it. But it does, Father, like you said, it just changes your perspective and really puts things back into sort of a right working order, as opposed to this immediacy that we have about everything.
You can put things back at arm's length a little bit, like everything, and whether it's the phone calls or the texts or the news or the people wanting your attention, it gives you space. And that's one of the benefits. And, you can't, unless you decide to become a digital hermit, which most of us do not have the luxury of being, it does give you perspective. And it does give you, and it makes you appreciate things all the more. It would be interesting to do a digital detox, say, before I get a new phone. Like I'm planning getting an iPhone 15 when they come out this year. Maybe I should do a digital detox before that comes out. And when I get it, it'll be cool and new, and I will appreciate it more. I don't know, or maybe not. I'm certainly not going to do a digital detox right after I get it, because that would be too hard to do.
Or at the very least, you'll develop better habits you won't carry over any bad habits from your previous use of the phone. You'll kind of get rid of those before you start on the new one. And that can be a good thing.
That is a very good point. Yeah. And before we talk about some of these things, I want to first say it's not an all or nothing thing. This is a digital detox is not, I have to give up all technology. You can make it as intense or as easy, as long or as short as you want. This is customized to your needs and maybe your discernment. Perhaps there's some spiritual discernment involved in it. So let's get into some of these things. And so the first thing I'd recommend is to set a clear goal and duration. So, don't make it open-ended. I'm going to give up my phone for a little while. What's a little while? Make it clear goal of, a week, a weekend, a day. I'm not going to look at my phone all day on Sunday. Every Sunday would be a thing. I mean, but make it clear and be specific about what it's going to be. Why am I doing this? So to have that purpose in mind. Why do I want to do this? And then why are you doing it? For reducing stress, spending more time with people, improving your focus. So those two things. So know why you're doing it and how long you're doing it. I think that's the first thing. Yeah,
there's the acronym SMART when we do goals, right? That they are specific, that they're measurable, that they're achievable, that they're relevant, and that they're time bound.
Yeah.
And so when I make a goal, that I set them in that way that they have the highest chance of success and achievability.
That's the key.
And I like the idea that it's measurable too, not just that you've been off your technology, but that you've done something with that time, not just sat and twiddled your thumbs waiting to get back on it.
Yes. Replace it with something. We'll talk more about that too, but replace it with something positive. So the next, did you want to say
one more thing I wanted to say here too is you can do this daily too. It's not something that you have to have once a week or anything like that. You can say daily, I'm going to get home from work. I'm going to set all of my technology down, turn my notifications off, and spend that time just kind of rejuvenating myself and getting ready for the evening. And then I can turn everything back on and engage with it as you want to. I know for me, that's really good because I would just keep working. Like I'll just keep following the same stuff I was following while I was at work. And the next thing I know, it's 9 o'clock and I've been working all night on my phone in my living room, ignoring my kids and never stopped.
Right. And that is such a toxic thing that enters into our lives. I have to remind our church employees, and I think this is especially if you work in service-oriented work, you feel this duty to be on 24/7. And the look of confusion / relief when I tell employees, it should be outside of the norm that you're getting messages after 5 p.m. Go home, be with your families, live. You're not supposed to be working all the time.
Right. So the next thing I want to mention is, and Father, you kind of alluded to this, is make sure you notify the people in your life that you're doing this. Inform them of the limits. If you're going to be on a flip phone, tell them, I'm going to be on a flip phone. You can't text me and expect me to reply like normal, or answer my emails when I'm on the go, or that sort of thing. So let people know that I'm not available between say from the moment I get home from work till after dinner. I am unavailable, and through any means I will have no notifications. Or, this weekend, don't try to text me, family. I won't be responding, because sometimes you have those family groups like WhatsApp or message threads, and if you don't respond, like mom or your siblings say something like, why aren't you responding to this very important discussion we're having? because I wasn't on my phone. Let people know.
I didn't know it was happening.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they give them alternative ways of getting a hold of you in case of an emergency. That's the big thing.
Yeah. I think once you do it and it becomes a habit, this step of notifying your contacts becomes unnecessary, or maybe less often, not unnecessary.
Right.
But
that's if you're doing it on a schedule.
It becomes this understanding that, and we all have these people in our lives that you have the understanding like, oh, I just text him and I haven't heard back from him in an entire day. Well, that's just so-and-so, right? And we have those people in our lives that we know, and so it's okay to be one of those people.
It is. It's 100% okay. It's not a problem.
I have set some boundaries with like certain groups, scouts, like scout leaders in our troop. I don't respond to texts during the day. When I'm working, I'm not, because those threads can go off on tangents and they can be 50 or 60 and my phone is blowing up with, ding, 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 dings. Like that just drags my focus away from my work. And so I've set expectations when you can contact me and, when I will respond to things like that. They can still contact me, but I won't respond until later. And I think that's I think as you're saying, Father, the more you do this sort of thing, the more people begin to reset their expectations of what they can expect of you. And I think that's good. So another one that is a good way to plan is to choose the right time. So, as we were saying before, pick a time that works for you and your schedule and the people in your life. Be mindful of just, if you're married and your spouse, don't just hey, by the way, you're on the hook for any calls for the kids to have to get picked up or, like that. I'm not going to be available. Don't be that spouse. Work with others in your life. You don't tell your boss, you can't ever call me for a week or something. That's not going to work probably. So choose the right time. A weekend, a vacation is great. I just got back from vacation a few weeks ago and, I didn't completely detox. I kind of avoided certain aspects of life. I did answer a few messages from folks. I love the work and the people I do this with, and it doesn't feel like work. So responding to some messages doesn't bother me, but what I could put off, I put off, that sort of thing. So that would be a great thing to do.
When you're on vacation, especially you're vacationing with people, right? Maybe it's with family, maybe it's with friends. You're with those people. Free yourself from those other obligations. Don't be scrolling through Facebook.
And this is a good time.
Don't worry about posting every moment on Facebook.
Exactly.
Enjoy the moment with the people. Dom, you mentioned weekends. Sunday is a day of rest. It is working on Sunday to be checking your work emails and doing work on your phone on Sunday. So not only to do it as to free yourself, but also, and I'm not saying this in a guilt-ridden, finger-wagging thing, we all do it, but in your own examination of conscience for confession and things, to be able to examine that. Do I work on Sundays on my device in ways that I don't realize I'm doing, and that I'm allowing that to take over that day of rest.
Right. And another thing to consider here too is a digital downgrade as part of your detox. So if you're a person who uses a smartphone and you are prone to use your smartphone for surfing the web or for getting on to your Facebook account and you're on vacation, get a camera. Take a digital camera with you so that you're not making the excuse of, oh, well, I need my phone because it has a camera on it, right? Leave your phone somewhere where it's not going to be immediately accessible to you and pull the camera out and take pictures that way, so that there's not that immediate need to post the picture to check your Facebook after you've posted that picture. And then you get stuck doing that instead of actually being on vacation.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. Digital downgrade, speaking of digital downgrade is, well, we'll get to that. I don't want to jump ahead, but there's there's other aspects of downgrading that would apply. So another one is make a plan. What am I going to do instead of the things I would usually be doing on my devices, not just my phone, but other things like read a book, sit outside by a fire pit with your spouse, go for a bike ride, go for a walk, go to the library. Have you been to the library lately? Most towns have a public library. Go check it out. It's pretty cool, actually.
Blow the dust off your guitar.
Right.
There's still books in the library too. Libraries aren't just places that give you a overdrive subscription. So I hear.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, take up Legos, build models, garden. There's all kinds of things. And people, I mean, I'm being obvious. I mean, people know what kind of hobbies. This is your chance to start doing those hobbies that you enjoy. I gave up Twitter as an active thing. I mean, I post things on Twitter for work, but as an active thing, early this year because I wasn't reading as much. If you look at my Goodreads, you'll see like the last 2 years, my Goodreads, I didn't hit my Goodreads. I've just hit I've read more books this year than I did all of last year already, and
nice.
So just by not going on Twitter, like I was wasting so much time. And so that's the thing. And, if I were digital detoxing, I might read my Kindle because I just find that easier on my eyes to read on a Kindle. I know some people that's the opposite, but or
so
just
Dom, what you're saying is Twitter's your ex?
Yes, Twitter is now my ex.
Well played.
Yes, that was a really bad idea, but that's a whole other topic. So. And then, I mean, what else would anybody have anything else you wanted to say on creating a plan for what to do at that time?
Dinner time.
Yeah.
And this is the zones too, right? That we'll get into a little bit, but
right.
Having those deliberate conversations with your spouse, with your kids, remember that your kids have like this 2-year period that they have limited social interaction. It's probably good for us to be deliberate about putting down the devices and having some social interaction and getting them back and caught up on that reality of life they need to have.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. That's, I think dinner time is a great time to make a digital free zone, no phones. It's hard. My wife and I are both, we like to share articles and, bring up news stories and stuff like that. And the phone is there and you want to pull it out and you want to show a funny video you saw earlier. And that all seems innocuous, but eventually you've shown the video and now you're scrolling again. And you're not paying attention.
That's the trick, is getting off of that, getting out of that loop.
I mean, as we've talked about in the show before, all of this stuff is designed to pull you in, and what we're talking about is breaking those bonds that they're putting on you. So and speaking of dinner is make a digital free zone, literal places, physical space where digital devices are not allowed. So you could be digital for time, but you can also be, digital free in time, but you can also be digital free in space. No devices in the bedroom, no devices in the dining room. Like you could set up no device in the bathroom, which frankly, in a house with 7 people in one bathroom, that's probably a good thing. It would be better for us. I've made a rule that children are not allowed to wear their headphones while they're in the bathroom. Because they can't hear when someone is knocking on the door.
Yep.
And I've spoke on this before. Just advice from a confessor, right? This digital free zone is also that thing that we say in the act of contrition of avoiding the narrow occasion of sin. Bringing devices in private areas is not good.
Yeah.
It's a bad
devices
habit.
should be in public areas.
We've made rules about some of our kids have phones that don't have phone service, but they do have internet. And we we set up screen time barriers, and they figure out ways around them, and that whole thing. So we've just implemented space rules: no phones in the bedrooms. We have a small house; it's limited space, so we've had to, with individual children, judge their own where they are spiritually, and they can earn that space. But yeah, I agree. I've long said, even before I had kids, devices with screens in bedrooms or other private places is generally a bad idea. It's an rare occasion, and for adults, it could be the same way.
Well, and it rewires your brain too. That's the other thing is, like sitting in your bed with a device, your brain changes that space into a space where you want that device, not a space where you're going to be sleeping. Right. And so, and that's what I talk to my kids all the time about: sleep hygiene. Like, you don't lay in your bed and play video games, because that's going to cause you to not be able to sleep. And I've finally had a couple of them come back to me and say, man, that's, Dad, I think you're right about so it took a few years, but
a bed is a tool, and it's to be used for a particular purpose.
That's amazing. They realized you're right before they were 25.
I know, right? I'm so proud of them. They're coming along well.
Yeah. I mean, I hear people talk about, I get up the first thing in the morning as I grab my phone and look at stuff on my phone. I never feel the temptation to do that. I wait. I get up. I go to the other room. I gather my things to go to the bathroom to get my shower, and I wait. I wait to do that first look at things. Did the world blow up overnight? Sort of look till after I'm up. I'm not half asleep. I want to be aware and awake before I do that. And I think that's I mean, maybe I should wait till after I've had my coffee, but at least that's mine.
I wait until wait until I'm done with my coffee, and then I'll go pick up my phone. I actually leave it on its charger until I'm done with my coffee, because if I don't, that's what I'm doing for the morning.
In. Yep.
And I've heard this excuse way too many times, so I'm going to say it. You don't need your phone as an alarm clock. It doesn't have to be in your room.
Yeah.
You can buy an alarm clock for $10. They still make them.
Right. I mean, I use my phone as my alarm clock, but I also don't feel tempted to look at my phone while I'm in bed. So it's, but I've never fallen into that trap. If you've gotten yourself into that trap, buy an alarm clock so you're not in that trap.
Right.
I do have an alarm clock with the A lady on it.
Oh, yeah.
Which it's skate in the rural there.
Who shall not be named.
Yeah. I want the old 80s alarm clock with the faux wood grain finish, the ones that round with the flippy letters, or the red LED.
Every single house had.
Yes, everybody, literally everyone had to. Yes, and the alarm clocks had like that, and they were all like GE or Radio Shack, right? Yeah. So, just like we're supposed to notify our contacts, you can also notify your online community. Sometimes I feel like this is iffy. Like, I sometimes would like people come along like, I'm going to be absent for a month because I'm taking a detox. It can sound a little like, bye, Felicia.
Like, don't tell everybody that you're fasting thing. That don't. There's a reason that's there.
Don't virtue signal.
Exactly.
And don't don't be like the hypocrites who go and yell out that they're fasting when you fast. Right. Read that in a book somewhere. So you need to don't boast of your fasting.
Well, right. So, and that's not what this is for. What this is for is if you let the people in your online communities know that you're not going to be available for a period of time, they're not reaching out to you, they're not dinging you, sending communications to you. There can be less pressure to be, in communication, that sort of thing. So that's what that's about, really. You can set device limits. You can use focus modes. There are various third-party apps that can do timers. We've talked about this before. Like Instagram, of all places, has a built-in timer. You can say, I want you to limit any one particular session on Instagram to so many minutes, and then for the day, this many minutes. And it will pop up and remind you. Now you can just say, go away, obviously, but it's a reminder. So use the tools. If instead of I'm not using things at all, you could say, I want to limit my usage of a thing. Because again, we're talking about all kinds of ways of detoxing. You could use these things to limit. And some people need to use these things for work, right? So I'm detoxing from stuff, but I still need to get my work done. You can use these tools to limit yourself. So screen time. My wife uses screen time for herself as a reminder. Like, you've been scrolling Facebook for a half hour. You should go do something else. Yeah.
You can easily get lost. That's the whole point.
It's not a character flaw.
Things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's that's the way they're designed. Like you are, and it's not because you're weak. It's because they are specifically designed to capture your attention and hold it for as long as possible.
Exactly. And for my wife, as a stay-at-home mom, a lot of her social engagement and intellectual social engagement is with other people online. And so that's a bit of a lifeline for her. So, but you don't want that to be the only thing she's doing all day, that sort of thing. Right. So you use these tools to help you. Another important,
if you need more information on the focusing modes, I think it was I am Victor, Secrets of Tech number 184.
Very good. So if you go to starquest.fm/TEC184, we talked a lot about focus modes, using focus modes to help you stay focused on your devices. So turning off notifications. Now, I think in general, turning off as many notifications as possible is a good thing, because frankly, if everything is beeping at you, you're paying attention to nothing. Like you're eventually going to tune it all out, just like car alarms, all that sort of stuff. Kids screaming in the background, if certain of us parents, that's a thing. You start to ignore it, you tune it out, and so a plethora of notifications is bad anyway. So go through and audit your notifications, turn off as many as possible, so that you're only getting the things that are actually things you need to know.
Mm-hmm. The iPhone now has a notification summary mode that you can set specific times of the day that you get those non-essential notifications. And so you can set it up that I don't get any of those notifications for my social media apps until 6 p.m. or whatever. So it's not interfering with my workday. And you can set it up that it does that. Which is a really good feature.
Right. So I want to quickly move through the others because we're kind of going long here, as we usually do with these topics, but it's so good. But so uninstalling unessential, non-essential apps, especially social media apps that you can access through a browser. That's one of the tricks my wife uses with Facebook, is by having to go through the phone's browser. It makes it less sticky for her and easier to get out of, so to speak. The app is designed to hold you in. Plus the app also has hooks for getting information about you that the web browser doesn't. And so remove apps, or even temporarily remove them if you're doing a periodic detox, like a bigger detox, all the ones that you find most distracting and time consuming, whether it's Candy Crush or Facebook or what have you. To get them off your phone or off your computer, because it applies to that sort of stuff too, for as long as your detox is.
And if you're worried about forgetting to reinstall them, good. That's kind of the point.
Yeah,
right.
If you forget about it, obviously you didn't need it.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I have a Twitter account.
I have an X account. So, and that's the next point, which is digital decluttering. Use the time to clean up your digital life, organize your files. Like, I think when you're coming back in from your detox, I think is the time for this. Like, schedule a time if you're doing like a week or a month or a weekend, schedule a time near the end where you can go in and remove stuff. Because once you've had some space from this stuff, you start to realize how less important it is. And you can start deleting things that you don't need anymore, like old files or old emails and all the clutter on your desktop, your computer's desktop especially.
For people who've done diets like keto diets or things like this, this is a good analogy for that, of like you reintroduce certain foods to your diet at a measured approach. And you are able to realize as you do it at a measured approach also, which ones of those were toxic to you.
Right.
So when I reintroduce Twitter and I notice that I'm getting angry, I see it was Twitter making me angry, right? Or whatever it was making me. And so I can, if I slowly introduce those things, I can see the exact things that shouldn't be in my life.
Right. Gradual reintegration of devices and digital activities or sites or games or whatever, gradually bring those things in and then keep what's essential. And, and start with the things that are essential, and the things that are less essential, you may never reintegrate. I want to mention also, journaling is a great thing to be doing while you're digital detoxing. Keeping a journal, writing down your thoughts. Once you don't have the constant thing beeping at you, whether it's a phone or a computer or whatever, you start to be alone with your thoughts. That's a great opportunity to reflect, to think, to look at your life, to look at the world around you, and to write it down. Not just to like observe, oh, that's a pretty sunset. Write it down, because the act of recording things that you're thinking actually makes them more real to you. They make them stick around in your memory better, and it helps you reflect and work them out. I'm trying to think of the right words for it, but you're working through a thought that makes it better.
You're processing it in a way that you wouldn't do otherwise. And it's one of those things, I think we cheat ourselves with that in the digital age too, by saying, by feeling like we're journaling or we're capturing our thoughts by putting them online. And there's a cheapness to that, because you're not really, it's not your thought. It's a thought that you're trying to share with other people. And that's very different than something that is yours and is private and is available to you only, and is intended for yourself only, because it can really help you dig into deeper spots inside of yourself that you weren't really thinking of, or that you're not willing to share, but they need to be kind of thought about and talked about internally.
Right. And even if you never reread those journals, the act of making them is itself beneficial in that way.
What is it? Socrates, which is the unexamined life is not worth living.
That's exactly right. Yes. So, and then, as you're going through your detox, it's not a rigid thing. Adjust as you need to. Evaluate how things are going. Do I, how's my mood? How's my productivity? How's my overall well-being? And adjust to what you need to do, and don't be rigid about it. I think that's another big one. So any other things we need to mention as well? I think we've pretty well covered it. I'm sure there are other things we could do. But
I encourage everybody to try a little one soon. Like, I don't let it go more than, a month without planning something like this out, just to give yourself a feel for it. And you'll realize really quickly that there's a lot of stuff that's vying for your attention that you didn't realize was there.
Yep. Next week, as we record this for several days, part of the whole week, I'll be at Scout Camp with my kids.
Yeah, there you go.
And that's going to be my opportunity to do a bunch of digital detoxing. I'm not even sure there'll be a cell signal there, so you may not hear from me for a while.
That's one of the best. There are some areas of my parishes that I cover that are forced digital detox. I bet Father Corey is the same as I am.
I was thinking Father Corey, yeah.
There's forced areas of digital detox for us. I was back home in Omaha the other day, and it was the first time I learned that my iPhone had 5G on it. I had no clue that I owned a 5G iPhone.
Go figure.
That's awesome. All right. So digital detox. I'd love to hear what folks advice that anyone else has, things that you've done, what you think of it, and let us know. You can send us email at technology@sqpn.com, or visit our Discord community and share over there what you're doing and what you think. That's at sqpn.com/Discord. So before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of technology, including Christopher P., Thomas V., Leonides, Megan S., and Rhonda M. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of technology and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. So we got a few headlines we'd like to talk about. And the first one is interesting. It's the headline itself is EV battery swaps now as fast as filling your tank. And it's an interesting idea for addressing one of the big issues people have with electric vehicles, which is recharge time. If I'm out and about on a long trip, I'm traveling cross country somewhere, and I need to refill. Well, if I have gasoline, I pull a gas station, 5 minutes, boom, I'm full tank and I'm on my way again. With an EV, electric car, it takes me half hour or 45 minutes, depending on if you get a fast charger even. So this company called Ample has come up with a technology where instead of charging the batteries, they take a page out of the book of our old remote controls and they swap them out the old fashioned way. So they say it's an automated swap out station, which I presume would require some standardization in how manufacturers put the batteries in, of course.
700 Duracells.
Right.
That's it. Just stack them.
Just throwing Duracells in there like crazy. No, but it looks like a garage. You pull through, or like a car wash. Really, it's kind of like that. You pull in, and then the system automatically within 5 minutes swaps out the big battery pack and puts a new one in. You're ready, good to go. And 5 minutes, like I said, it's about the amount of time it takes to fill your tank of gas. So, what do you guys think of this? Is it pie in the sky, or is this a great idea?
Isn't this the most expensive part of an electric car? Is the battery?
Yeah.
So you're asking me to drive my very expensive electric car into your device and just let you trade out the most expensive part of it for what I'm assuming is an equivalent value. I wouldn't do this. Like 100%, I would not do this.
It's also the most dangerous part of the electric car, by the way.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the other side of it.
Yeah, a bad battery could be bad news.
You're creating more batteries, right? So there's more batteries in cars out there then. Right?
Yeah,
we're swapping the batteries out, so they have to create an excess of batteries for these.
I would presume that when they take the depleted battery out of your car, it goes someplace and gets recharged for the next vehicle.
But there would still need to be a stockpile of batteries that would be a significantly greater number based on charging time.
Every one of these
and all
stations would
that.
have to have some on hand. Yeah.
And so I think we forget when we get in this whole frenzy about electric cars that you have to mine metals and you have to
lots of lithium,
lots of labor that is not ethical. And then there's fuel that has to be used to charge these things, most likely coal. And so, I'm not to go on an electric car rant, but on this particular one, I think you're creating more e-waste that doesn't need to be made.
I feel like that there's already a stockpile of batteries for repairs and that sort of stuff out there as it is. I mean, we stockpile gasoline, we stockpile other car parts. So I don't think, and I see your point, but I don't feel like that's as big an issue as some of the other problems, which is if you put a bad or malfunctioning battery into someone's vehicle, swapping out a perfectly good one, and that car bursts into flames 10 miles down the road, that's a really bad thing. They would have they would have to be 100% on making sure that every battery that goes in is perfect. And frankly, I don't see car manufacturers all getting together going, oh yes, we're all going to make this one company wealthy by standardizing
our practices.
I'm nervous about letting a robot fuel my car. Letting a robot take my car apart for me. It really worries
not the optimal
me.
Idea.
Yeah. I'd rather have, Carl in that sketchy gas station on a back road somewhere in, rural Massachusetts fuel up my car than have a robot swapping out my battery.
At least he has a conscience and he's worried about your car bursting into flames.
Yeah, he might be. Well, at least for his own liability purposes. So I think we'd agree with that. This is probably not a great idea, and it's probably not going to go anywhere. But I find it interesting, the interesting way to think about the problem.
Apparently, it is actually being used on like fleets. So like a fleet of cars, which, I can see that, like everything's standardized, everything's regulated inside of that own fleet. But I just can't see this being a consumer thing at all.
Right.
So, yeah.
So our next headline, I love this one. So, Father, you work at a high school. So you have kids.
Yes.
You used to work at a school as a technology teacher. So you'll be both like this. So from TechCrunch, high school changes every student's password to change me ! CH @NGEME ! Everybody all at once, and told everybody that they had done so.
That just blew my mind. Like, why did you send an email?
If this person is an IT professional, they need to be fired.
Yeah. So even better is the fact that this happened because they hired a cybersecurity firm to audit their students' accounts, their Google Classroom accounts. That's what these were Google accounts. And they screwed it up. They messed something fundamental up. I mean, something to mess it all up. They screwed up something fundamental at a very low level. And so the Oak Park and River Forest High School in Illinois decided that what we would do is we would change every student's password to change me, and then send an email out telling them to, as of today, this is going to take place at 4 p.m. So we strongly suggest that your child update the password to their own unique password as soon as possible. Now, the problem with this is they don't need to do this. All you simply need to do, because I'm a Google admin for StarQuest, is just go in and say, log everybody out and force them to create a new login when they come back. Like, you don't have to put a new password in. You just say, make them make a new password when they get back in. I don't understand. And this presumably is what they ended up doing.
The article says that they accidentally deleted their passwords or reset their passwords initially. And so they had to reassign new passwords.
But then you could do that logout thing after that.
You could also reassign random passwords, and then,
which is what I think they ended up having to do. Afterwards.
And then there's tools inside of Google to be able to send those randomly generated passwords to their parents or to their alternate email address. Right. The frustrating thing is that Google has the tools for you not to do this.
Right. And it's just crazy.
The more frustrating thing is the number of places I've been that have passwords that a fourth grader could figure out what the passwords are. Everyone has the same word and the year they entered the school, right? Things like that you're like, guys, no.
That's not a password.
That's not a password. That's a puzzle game for a fourth grader.
Right.
And so,
very specifically a puzzle game.
Every time I start so I've had to multiple times when I find that out, inevitably I get made the Google admin at every place I've been, is click that button and say require password reset at next login when you find out that all their passwords are the same.
Oh, drives me crazy. Yeah, I've worked in places where it was like that. So, a mother of a student, she saw this and said this was a dumb idea, and she and her child went into other students' accounts to see that this is, which is inadvisable because you yourself could be accused of hacking. Right? Yeah, which is dumb, but
I'm gonna ask my normal question of when I see really dumb stuff happen at schools. I'm a big advocate of educational choice. Parents need to ask themselves the question when
Wise man.
the educators and the people in charge of the education of your children are doing this stupid of stuff at basic levels. Should these people be educating your children?
Right.
So
It's a good question.
you can step
It's a
back
valid
a
question.
moment and wonder if that's the case. Maybe I'm being unfair to the school. Maybe it's a couple individuals, but it's worth asking those questions.
Yeah, or to look at it even more specifically, if this is how incompetent their IT people are about this, what other data about your child and your family is similarly exposed?
Right.
To ransomware, to hackers, to people who are going to go in. And I mean, this was kind of the point of having a cybersecurity audit, right? I think you've just failed your cybersecurity audit right then and there.
All the fun side story here. When I was a high schooler and I was in my computer programming class, and I was a high school with a little bit of a conscience, I discovered that the Access database was open on the network neighborhood of our computers, and so that I was able to open the Access database that was non-password protected. And I, after opening it, realized it was the database they were keeping the grades in. I quickly waved the computer science teacher over and said, I haven't touched anything. I'm going to stand up. You can
Please do
take
something
this.
about this.
And she's like, oh, that is bad. Yeah. And so,
Wow.
yeah, I mean, that was a different era of computers.
Yep. That was the funny thing where I saw someone said that they submitted their student name as drop table. That's an inside SQL joke, folks. if you put drop table in table and it executes it proper, like its command, it will delete the table. So,
wow, all your student names are gone.
Yes.
Goodbye.
All right. So from that, we're going to talk about the next headline, which is YouTube is testing a 3 strikes policy for ad blocking. Now, to be clear, this is happening in rare cases. Not many people are seeing this, but some people have, and which is some people are seeing a message pop up when they go to play a video they're open in a browser that has an ad blocker, and it will warn them your video player will be blocked after 3 videos. You will be blocked from watching videos on YouTube unless you disable your ad blocker. Now, a lot of us use ad blockers of various kinds, and because there's a lot of obnoxious ads out there, and some of those block YouTube ads and some don't. Some of us have found ways around that don't actually look like an ad blocker to YouTube, I guess. In any case, what do you think about this? Do you think that YouTube is in its rights? Do you think the users are in their rights to block ads? Are we okay to work around it? What do you think about this? Would you buy a YouTube premium subscription?
It's not going to make me buy a YouTube premium subscription. That's for sure. I will say though, I bought a Nebula subscription, which is kind of like a somewhat of a competitor to YouTube, and it's because a lot of my favorite content creators were complaining about the fact that they weren't able to monetize their time on YouTube anymore. But I was still getting all the ads, so I was like, forget this. I'm going to go support these guys elsewhere.
Yeah,
and so I jumped.
Yeah.
And the content on that's probably a little cleaner too.
Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, YouTube has become a lot of their entertainment and, that kind of content, especially with a writers and actors strike likely to drag on. These are the people who are actually creating things still. So, yeah, I have talked before that on my Mac, and I use software called Vinegar. I think, that's what it's called. It's a Safari plugin I mentioned before that shows the YouTube video in a native video player. And the unintended side effect of that is that it doesn't show ads. So that is part of it, but it's also a much cleaner video experience than YouTube provides natively. So
when I'm teaching classes and I have YouTube videos, I'll usually, because of the nature of ads that play sometimes,
Exactly.
I will always download the file of it. So I use YouTube DL, which is a script for Linux fanboy, to actually, I think there's Windows and Mac versions of it too, but
yeah, there is,
to download the video. And it's for that reason, it's not because like I initially watched the video and don't block the ads, but it's, I'm using an educational account, and sometimes YouTube's ads that come up are not appropriate for a classroom, which is just...
Or for families. If I'm watching videos and sometimes my kids are with me, I don't want them watching those ads. Yeah. So, all right. Well, good luck to YouTube. I mean, it's not like they're
trying. They're trying real hard to like make it as bad an experience as they can. So
another way around that. I think Dom, both you and I have mentioned Next DNS before, and the ability to block ads through that, which is another way, which I don't think this would catch.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see. I don't know how they're doing it, so.
I'm intrigued. I just tried 3 different ways, and all of them seem to have caught ads on YouTube still. So I didn't get the 3 strikes blocked. So here we go.
So our last headline is from the Wall Street Journal, and this one says, people hire phone bots to torture telemarketers. Now, I want to talk about the ethics of this as well. But what people are doing is there are services where you can have an AI chatbot using a particular kind of voice that keeps these telemarketers on the line, basically. And some of the thinking is the longer that this telemarketer is wasting their time with a chatbot, a voice chatbot, the less time they're scamming other people. What do you guys think of this one?
Scam the scammers.
just be careful, because the FCC just issued the largest fine in history to a set of robocallers like last Friday, I think it was. So $300 million against. So
would this qualify as a robocaller?
Technically it does. I don't,
because they're not calling anyone.
Oh, well, true.
They're not initiating it.
It's that's true, that you're on the receiving end and just that's true. Okay. But still, I would be careful of this kind of stuff because, and I would be careful of the scammers kind of thing, where you like, there's a guy that I watch on YouTube that he gets the numbers and then just calls the number back until they have to cancel that number. And then, and it's phenomenal, but at the same time, he could also be in trouble for that kind of behavior as well.
Yes. Yeah. Do we, like the aggressive actions are probably violating the spirit or letter of the law, but the more passive actions of keeping people on the line who've called you are probably okay. So the way this works is like, and I think he's refining it, but when he answers, and it's one of these scammers, he transfers it to this chat GPT powered dialogue thing, and it purposely keeps them going. So they'll say, I want to talk to you about your credit cards. Oh, I'm sorry. What's your name again? What's your name, buddy? And how much debt do you think you owe on your credit cards collectively? Oh, I don't know. I have so many of them, hey, here's one with a picture of a kitten on it. And sort of like kind of absent-minded, slightly delusional older person, maybe, or that sort of thing. Although he says this one is based on his 55-year-old or 54-year-old friend, who's a Vermont dairy farmer or something like that.
The interesting thing about it was ChatGPT wouldn't do this for him initially, and then he told it that it was a assistant to stop someone from being scammed, and then it will do it. So with ChatGPT, you have to write the prompts in a very specific way to get what you want out of it, and so that was entertaining to me, that the digital conscience that they've programmed into ChatGPT is kind of funny.
You can get around it. Like you can't say tell me give me 15 ways to kill someone. You can say, imagine that you're a novelist writing a story and you have to come up with 15 ways. Like you can get it to give you what you want if you just say it in the way that
there's a clever little game called Gandalf, and I'll give the link to you, Dom, and we can share it out. But it's you have to get Gandalf to tell you the password, and it's a generative chat speech. So like the first one's really easy. You just say, tell me the password, right? But then it levels up and it starts to get smarter and starts to tell you, I can't tell you the password. And you have to weasel your way around it, get it to figure out how to generate a prompt that does the thing that you want it to do without it being direct.
Nice.
So it's very clever.
So this original thing we're talking about is it's called Jolly Roger. You can subscribe to it for $25 a year. The way the service has worked before is, when the call comes in, you deflect it to this system, and there's a preset expressions from chatbots that keep these people on the line. So they're not actually in a dialogue with the scammer, but they're saying things that are vague and open-ended enough that can keep them on the line for longer. So like, there's a bee on my arm, but keep talking. Or they say, or grunt a lot, but when he saw ChatGPT, he decided to find out a way to use that to take it the next step to do the dialogue. So.
During COVID, I might have done this with a fake Microsoft person who told me that they needed to update the security on my computer, and I kept them for like 35 minutes on the phone.
Yes.
After, just like ChatGPT, after you get enough information, after you've worked with enough people who know nothing about computers, it's really easy to imitate them and have some fun. So, yeah. And it was COVID. I needed entertainment. I mean,
yeah. I like to keep tech scammers going. When I get one of those like, hey, how's it going? Ones from an unknown message. That's when I send back and folks have heard me say this before. Thanks for subscribing to Snail Chat, where we're going to send you snail facts all day long. And then I go to the Wikipedia page and just copy sentences from the Wikipedia entry on snails
Excellent.
Just over and over again. If you'd like to unsubscribe from Snail Chat, say stop, and then they say stop. Thanks for continuing, and then send another one. I mean, it's full of it's a miles of amusement. I probably need to detox from that. All right, so those are our headlines. So let's move on to talking about our picks of the week. And Father Joseph, what's your pick this week?
My pick of the week isn't expensive at all, which I'm not being sarcastic. Recently, we moved our parish office, and so I've been laying a lot of wires and cords and not wanting to run stuff through ceilings for some things, especially electricity is probably not good to run through ceilings all the time. So instead of doing the old-fashioned cord covers that are those big rubber things, especially because we have Roombas vacuuming our office. I found these black cord covers that just Velcro onto the carpet, and they work really well. I was skeptical when I bought them, and it's fairly cheap. You can get 50 feet of it for $25, so a couple bucks a
feet. And you can
cut
it to length.
And you can cut it exactly to length. You can cut it to the curves. Everything. So I've bought this a few times now in setting up the office and been very impressed with it. This particular one's black. You can get it in other colors to match your carpet color if you want to blend in a little bit.
One thing I would say that it's a good pick, but if the cords are going to lay someplace that it's going to get rolled over by like chairs or whatever, this doesn't appear to protect it like the rubber things would.
Yes, that's correct. So, and I mean, I'm purposely letting Roomba go over it. But if you leave the cord sitting there, Roomba will not go over the cords, and it will go over this. And
the Roomba's probably fine for going, like, won't damage the cords. But yeah, you just if you're in a high traffic or high stress thing, So you could use a combination of these things.
Yep,
Yeah.
you should still use the traditional cord cover that's meant to protect those wires. This
Right.
is more to stop them from being tripping hazards.
Yeah, that's great. Good pick. Yeah, it's better than gaff tape, which is another thing that is traditionally used, and that's very temporary anyway. This seems like it would.
This is really good for reusing too. If you're someone who sets up a lot of temporary things. So I have a roll of this that I use for when we set up the parish hall with projectors and stuff to tack it down so that my cords don't get unplugged by people. And so I can just keep this in my closet and be able to pull it up and reuse it over and over again, which you can't do with duct tape.
Right. Keep the duct tape or gaffer tape for tile or linoleum, which wouldn't work with this, but this stuff is great for reusing it too. That's awesome. Good pick. Thomas, what's your pick this week?
All right, so my pick for this week is a shoe style, let's call it barefoot or minimalist shoes. I'm really into minimalist shoes and the way that I walk with them. It will very much dramatically change the way that you walk. So, if you go into this kind of mentality, you're going to learn quickly how to walk on the balls of your feet rather than on the heels. But the brand that I use particularly is a brand called Zero Shoes, Xero Zero Shoes. And they're fantastic. There's really very little material to them. So there's very little between you and the ground when you're walking. So you can feel everything you're walking on. And that may sound horrifying in some cases, but it really is really nice. It gives you all the protection you need from shoes, but at the same time, it allows you to just have that feel of just the freedom of your foot moving around the way it's supposed to. And for anybody who has wide feet or wide fronts of your feet, these shoes are really great because that's part of the design, is to let your foot spread out and just kind of be open and used the way that it's supposed to be used. So I have a pair of running shoes. I have a pair of hiking shoes. I also have a pair of, kind of daily wear, business casual kind of shoes from them. And they're just fantastic shoes. I started buying them a few years ago, and I that's what I keep re-upping to. So I highly recommend them.
There's a DIY kit in which you can make your own shoes. If you're feeling
so they send
really
you the sole
adventurous.
and you can cut into space. Yeah.
Wow. So these aren't the toe finger shoes where like the toes are separate thing, because those would drive me crazy. These are like they look like regular shoes.
They look like now people will be able to tell that you don't have on like a regular set of sneakers because the sole does look so different. That I like that they came out with one recently that's called the Glen, and it's a business casual shoe. And what they did was they left the sole the same and then extended it up along the sides of your foot so that it looks like you have a little bit of a sole on the shoe, and it doesn't look quite as because they almost look like socks. If I'm completely honest, they look a little bit like socks with something on the bottom of them.
Right.
But they function. They're really, really great. The one thing I've been really impressed with them is they're waterproof incredibly. Like I can step in a puddle of water with them. Even just my running shoes, step in a puddle of water, and as long as I don't leave my foot there for a significant amount of time, it comes out dry. And I've been really impressed with that. But yeah, I love them. I recommend them to everybody. I will say they will make you walk differently, and they have all sorts of. It's a very crunchy granola kind of company. So if you have any questions about the health benefits, I don't know. Take their advice with a grain of salt. but for me, I'll say it's been really great. It's helped my posture. I stand all day. Like I'm even at the job I have now, where I'm working on computers all the time. It's remarked in the office that I never sit down. I have a standing desk, and it pretty much stays in the standing position the whole time. And I never really feel exhausted or tired because of my feet. So, yeah, let that be a testimony.
Is it different from walking around in bare feet too? Like, if you're a barefoot kind of person, is it different even from that?
No, you feel like you're walking barefoot. You just have kind of a barrier between you and the ground, and it's not even that much of a barrier. So you can still feel, like if you're used to like feeling the gravel or whatever you're walking on while you're placing your foot down. You'll keep that same sensation while you're walking.
Will you feel Legos through it?
You feel the Legos, but they don't hurt quite as much.
If I walk on blacktop, am I gonna feel it like my feet?
The heat won't come through.
Yeah.
The heat won't come through. Yeah, I'm not any more than it would for just being on a blacktop anyway. But
right,
yeah.
That's cool.
So it's not completely like a barefoot, but it definitely still gives you that sensation.
I'm pretty much a hobbit. I love to be barefoot most of the time as much as I can. So, I
highly recommend these. Give them a try. Yeah.
Yeah. So my pick this week is something that I got for my wallet. I like to have a tracker in all the important things in my life, so I don't lose them. And I had a Apple AirTag inside of like a little case that was made for it in my wallet, but I keep a minimalist wallet, and that thing was just, an AirTag is just a certain thickness, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it was too thick. So I ended up looking at this. This is the Pebblebee card. It's the size of a credit card, as you'd expect for a wallet. And what makes this interesting, there are others out there, like just Tile has one. But what makes it interesting is it's compatible with the Apple Find My network. So it doesn't do you're 10 feet from, your phone, your wallet, 3 feet, 2 feet, and all that sort of thing, with the ultra wideband chip that the iPhone has. But what it does do is it still does the finding. It makes noise. It'll beep. It'll tell you where it is, show you on a map, that sort of thing, because you've left it at the restaurant or whatever. It's rechargeable. So it has a 3-pin like rechargeable spot on it where you have a little magnetic thing that attaches to it every 6 months or so. They say 6 months to a year, I think is what they said. I just recently recharged it, and I've had it for 6 months, so it's been pretty good. And it works with Find My. So if you have an iPhone or the Apple ecosystem, it'll show up right in the Find My app. But if you don't have an iPhone, it'll work with Google Assistant, the A-Lady, or Amazon Alexa, because I can say that because I've turned it off. And they have their own app as well, the Pebblebee app that you can put on your phone, so you can do it from within there. And really, it's $30, which is pretty reasonable for this sort of thing. It's the same price as an AirTag. So, it's recommended. I've used it, and I really like it. So that's it, our picks of the week, and that's it from us this time. We would love to get your feedback on anything we discussed this time. You can let us know by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com. Visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You can find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC222. You should follow The Secrets of Tech in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, your favorite podcast app, or at our YouTube channel at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia, and hit the bell to get notifications. Until next time, Father Joseph's son, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
You're welcome, and put down your phone.
After the podcast is done. Thomas Sanjurjo, thank you as well.
It's been a pleasure.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.